as requested by you guys, I am now going to look at a José Luis Mendilibar tactic. The guy who won Olympiacos their first ever European trophy, and the Greeks their first ever European success. Olympiacos most recently won the European Conference League. Now I'm going to take a look at how you can replicate his style in Football Manager 2024 with 3 unique tactics. One from Steam, one from my mind, and one from ChatGPT. Stay tuned because this is going to absolutely bang. And if you love tactics videos, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. The first tactic I tested was from Steam, and it is the KOS José Luis Mendilibar standard tactic. It is a positive tactic. As you can see, it's a 4-2-3-1 type tactic. It is a sweeper keeper on attack with the standard instructions, a wing back on support with get further forward, 2 ball playing centre backs standard instructions, and the same for a wing back on support on the left hand side as well. 1 ball winning midfield player with the standard instructions, and a central midfield player with get further forward and close down more on. Now he does play with 2 wingers to cut inside and mark tighter, and one of them has get further forward on the right hand side. Now you can put that on the left, you can put that on the right, it's completely up to you. It doesn't really make any difference at this stage. An attacking midfield player on attack with mark tighter, and an advanced forward on with mark tighter as well. A positive mentality tactic, as mentioned. It's a fairly wide tactic, passing to space, overlap on the wings and play out from the back. Short passing, standard tempo, low crosses, and no other final instructions for the final third. In transition, it is a counter press, counter, distribute quickly, take short kicks. Out of possession, it is prevent short goalkeeper, distribution, and trigger the press much more often with a very standard defensive shape. This is the first tactic I'm going to test. I'm going to show you the results after each tactic and see which one you want to use. All the tactics will be in the description below. But now let's check out how the KOS tactic did with simulating the season with Olympiacos. As you can see, this tactic performed fairly well, to be perfectly honest. It did get to a Greek Cup final, and they did finish runners-up in the Greek League to the dominant team in AEK Athens, or AUK Athens, if you're pronouncing it correctly. Now, second is a bit of a disappointment for Olympiacos, but as we know, they're not now the best team in the league. And if we take a look through the schedule, as you'll see, some of the type of results that you've got here are not great. I mean, they did qualify for the UEFA Europa League group stage, as you've seen, and then did get knocked out to Lazio, as you saw. But that defeat in the Greek Cup was not exactly what you would want in the final. But as you know, a final, anything can happen. The type of goals you'll score with this tactic, well, I'm just going to load up this Aris game here, and we're going to watch a few of the goals to see the absolute beauties that you score with this tactic. I feel like if you wasn't going on holiday, this tactic would be much better than actually the results that it has produced with Olympiacos. I feel like holiday sims always are a little bit more harsher on how the tactic performs. But in terms of the gameplay, here it is. Andre Horta is marauding down the wing and plays a great ball into the box. And you see that run from Podence. That's the type of goals that you'll typically see with this tactic. It's a big win against Aris. Aris have a special place in my heart. As you know, I did at the start of the year a great run with them, winning everything with them and the World Cup with Greece. But as you can see, this is a very much crossing focused tactic that will score you goals. So having a big centre forward will really help out with this cost tactic. I will show you one more goal before we move on to the ChatGPT tactic, but you'll get the feel for this type of tactic. As you can see, it's wing play and then big headers. Bosh. ChatGPT tactic, well, this one looks like a very interesting one. As we know, 4-2-4s are overpowered this season, and this is what he wants to replicate. José Luis Mendilibar, he is a, what would you call, a veteran coach, hasn't had much success up until his time at Olympiacos. He did win a UEFA Europa League with Sevilla as well, but he's had some big success in European competitions, and this tactic is trying to replicate more of his earlier style rather than his Olympiacos style, which the COS one replicates a little bit better in my opinion. But goalkeeper on defend with no instructions. There's 2 centre backs at the back with the same, 2 full backs with cross more often and tackle harder. 1 ball winning midfield player in the central midfield role with mark tighter, a box to box midfield player on tackle harder and mark tighter. 2 wingers on tackle harder on the right and the left. 1 pressing forward on support and 1 advanced forward who just has tackle harder on. Now, it's a very standard instructions. It is again a positive mentality tactic with a fairly wide attacking width, passing to space, focus play down the left, the right, play out a defense, slightly shorter passing directness with a higher tempo, hit early crosses with mixed crossing, and no further instructions in the final third. Now, in transition, it's counter press, counter, distribute quickly, play out from the back, and take short kicks. Now, ChatGPT knows that this is the most overpowered type instructions you can give in transition phase in Football Manager. It's just simply what you see everywhere. Now, this is a very high defensive line, high pressive engagement. The idea here is to press the ball, win it back, and recycle it and try and score goals. Prevent the short goalkeeper distribution, trigger the press much more often, get stuck in, and step up more. Now, this you will need to rest your players for. As you can see, it is a very intense tactic. So make sure you got the right training, the right rest, and your players will be fine. Also, a good squad helps out with that. Now, in how in terms of this tactic performed, actually did very, very well. It did a domestic double and only being knocked out in the Europa League by Bayer Leverkusen, who we know went on to win this in real life. So they're a very good side. And as you can see, won the league by an absolute canter. Obviously, AUK Athens didn't have the season they had in the previous simulation. And just to note, all the simulations are run on the exact same fixtures for ideal fairness. Now, as you can see, plus 60 goal difference. You've got the Greek Cup there. If we take a look at the schedule, you'll see a 2-1 Greek Cup win against AUK Athens. That's a big, big win in the final. You'll also see it was close against Bayer Leverkusen too. Only that goal away from home. Couldn't get the job done at home in Greece to get the final done. But as you can see, some good runs there towards the end of the season. Now I'm going to load up this Panathinaikos game so you can see what type of goals are scored with this tactic. And again, it scores beautiful goals. I mean, Football Manager, ChatGPT has done really well here in replicating that José Luis Mendilibar early version of his coaching career. It's very, very fluid. As you can see, a lot of his focus on the wing play again with Pedence driving into the box. That low cross, great save there. And Navarro just taps it in with an absolute weldy. That's what you get for having two strikers. You have that extra person in the box to pick up on opportunities there. And Navarro playing that pressing forward row finds Kostas Fortounis. Again, it's the cutback, it's the cross. Navarro's there in the right position. And that's what you get for having those two strikers up top compared to that one striker. Now, as you can see, look at the lovely pass in midfield there. And again, it's the wing play with this tactic. As we know, Mendilibar loves to play out from the wings, and it's a brilliant ball in for 3-0. Great, great triangles there. Great tactic. Go and try it out. Last but not least is a creation from my own mind. Very, very similar to the cost tactic. Instead of having two midfield players, I'm having two defensive midfield players as they are overpowered on Football Manager. Now, you might recognize this tactic. It is a version of the Heimball 4-2-3-1, which I released a couple of weeks ago. Now, it is two ball playing centre-backs on dribble more and tackle harder, sweeper keeper on support. I love wing backs that are attacking, cross on the byline, dribble more and tackle harder. As you know, Mendilibar is all about those crosses, and I feel like having these wing backs will certainly help that. Ball winning midfield player and a Segundo Volante. Now, that isn't really what Mendilibar does. It doesn't have Segundo Volantes, but again, it is just a variation with the wingers on tackle harder, an advanced playmaker, roam from position and tackle harder, an advanced forward positive mentality in possession, fairly wide, pass into space, play out defense, short pass in high tempo, run a defense, play for set plays, low crosses that you'll see from me. That's what I love to see, low crosses. Again, you could do mixed crosses if you've got that big centre forward. The overpowered instructions in transition, just this time it's distributed centre backs, not also the fullbacks. Out of possession is prevent short goalkeeper distribution, trigger the press much more often, get stuck in, step up more, and a decent medium line of engagement. A high defensive line, high oppressive line of engagement. Again, this is very standard stuff from what you see in a Football Manager tactic. Now, how did this perform? It performed fairly well. I have to say it wasn't too bad. We finished third in the league, could have finished second. I mean, AUK Athens had that unbelievable season as well. Didn't win the cup, as you've noticed here. It was a PAOK versus AUK final. So again, this is probably the third best performing one. And as you'll see towards the end of the season, we got knocked out super early. I mean, getting beat by Newcastle in the Europa League knockout round. Newcastle were very good on this save, but there were some silly results, as you can see. Panathinaikos losing there, drawing against Asteos Tripapalas is not great. But in terms of how this tactic plays, again, it creates some decent goals and is a fairly decent representation of what Mendilibar's tactics are normally like. And as we can see here, let's go. Let's see what's happening in these transitional phase here with the game. It's just loading up some goals that you will see. And here is Carmona. It's the press, the higher line of engagement here. As you can see, Goss just picks it up and Sequinho just taps it past the goalkeeper. That's what you get for the high press. That's the one that you need to press the ball, finesse it into the net. And again, set plays, as you saw, we play for set plays, and we've got some good players at the back with big headers, and David Carmo is one of those players who's going to get goals. Again, Sequinho with the cross in, back post header, you're not saving that scramble. And there we have it, 3 tactics that really replicate José Luis Mendilibar's tactics and the way that he plays football. Go and try them out. The link's in the description. If you've made it this far into the video and you've not subscribed, please do subscribe. It makes a huge difference to me and my channel. It would change the trajectory of the channel. Just a few of you that were watching would subscribe to this video. Let me know which coach you want to see in the comments below next, and I will make that my priority.